In this episode of Food for Thought, Montgomery College students get a look at the food industry by touring a restaurant that features local and organic food. And then later, they visit a local community farm. You're watching Food for Thought on MCTV. Everybody has to eat, but not everyone knows nutrition. To help solve this crisis, Food for Thought provides some helpful info to show how to eat healthy. Now, we don't promise to return you to your high school playing weight or that you'll be able to squeeze back into a size 8 dress, but we will help you choose healthy meals that are quick and cheap. Each episode is produced with the help of the Hospitality Management Department at Montgomery College and the Marriott Hospitality Center on the Rockville campus. Food for Thought is an MCTV production. You can view this program and many others anytime on our YouTube and podcast sites. Okay, so you've had the appetizer, now for the meal. Let's gather the ingredients and start cooking. While studying the local food industry, Montgomery College students visited Food Matters, a restaurant in Alexandria, Virginia that features a menu made mostly with local food from local farms. The group had dinner together and received insight and a restaurant tour from owner and chef Tom Prstowick.
You know, when you break bread together, eat together, however you describe it, you're in a way it's a very intimate thing. You know, you're sitting down and sharing a meal. You're sustaining yourself. We all need to eat. Energy and nutrition. You know, a lot of important things happen over food. The food is central, but not the focus. You know, we'll come together over food. Food is important. We're Food Matters. We're a restaurant. But there's more to it than that. You know, we want to we're a gathering place. This is our 4th year of being open. We opened in January of 2007, I guess it would be. I change the menu once a month in the beginning of the month and basically dictated by what's available from the farmers that we use locally. It's difficult, and you know, I try not to pigeonhole myself. A lot of what we use is organic, and a lot of what we use is definitely local. It is a challenge. You know, I had to write a menu today for an event we're doing next week. I wrote the menu, but then I'm like, well, I don't even know if this is available. So I had to call the beef guy. Like, do you have short ribs? Well, no, not going to have any. I'm like, okay. I called the bison guy. You're going to have short ribs? Yep, I got them. Okay. So it's going to be bison short ribs for the menu rather than beef short ribs. We want to teach people in many different ways, whether it's a cooking class, which we've done a little bit of talking about where our food comes from, who our farmers are, what's in season, what's available, and things like that. There'll be something popular on the menu. April 30th, it's on the menu. They'll come in May 1st and be like, where's the sandwich? Like, changed. It's a new month, it's a new season, something different is available, you know. We don't have asparagus available until it's available from a farm that's local. You know, I know it's available in stores, comes from someplace else, but like a fresh tomato, really hard to get until end of June, maybe even early July, depending on what the weather is. So until then, you can't get a tomato and a hamburger. Sorry, we just don't have it. And then once you're here, you'll see tomato in like 3, 4, 5 different menu items. It's sort of back to how things naturally are. You would think that because we're buying directly from the farms, it would be maybe cheaper. I find it's not necessarily less expensive than if you were to go to a farmer's market. Asparagus, for me, is going to be probably $4 a pound, which is, you can probably get it for that at the farmer's market. Tomatoes, the same, depending on the type. Heirloom tomatoes, I know, were $4 a pound last year. I expect to pay about the same this year. There is kind of a market fluctuation depending on what the abundance is. My one farmer who I spoke to about the asparagus just before this, his path, he's from the northern neck of Virginia, and He delivers to a lot of restaurants in Washington and in like Bethesda area. But he doesn't come by here. But I've known him for so long and have had a good relationship with him. I've tried to come up with an arrangement of how to get the stuff from him. We are definitely local. We're not 100%. What I say is we try to be. It's possible. I suppose it's possibly 100% organic. More so nowadays. It's almost impossible to be 100% local just because of what is and is not available. And then if I were to force that, then the pricing would be problematic. Local beef we do, and also local bison from Maryland. We have a beef comes from Rosetta Angus beef, just in Moncton, Maryland, and our bison is from just down the road from them. It's called Gunpowder Bison and Trading, and so we just recently started using them in the beginning of the year. We've been very happy. We actually have a bison cheesesteak on the menu that's very popular. So, in addition to having a restaurant and serving food to people, we do what we call a CSA program. There are many of those around, more and more. Generally, a CSA, community-supported agriculture, is generated by a particular farm, and they will sell a share of their harvest in advance. Well, our farmers don't sell to individuals. They sell primarily to restaurants and caterers and things like that. You know, we've had customers ask, well, can I get some of that asparagus, example, or can I get some of those tomatoes, because the tomato salad was just phenomenal. And our thought was, well, why don't we, instead of having trying to open a supermarket, why don't we do our own CSA? We're still supporting our farmers, but we're kind of acting as the organizer and the central point for that. Right out here on this table is where the pickup is, and we do some bagging on Friday night. If, you know, like salad greens and things, we'll put into some little bags, mushrooms as well. And then someone organizes that in the morning, and we do it on an honor system. There's a sign-in sheet. The bags are ready to go. The members will sign off on the name, and then they'll pick a bag. Actually funny, we've noticed that we'll have probably 50 bags set up at any one time, and they will never just take the first bag that's there. They always will start root around. Well, that one's got bigger carrots in it and this and that. So it's funny to see the human nature at work. You always think there's something better in another bag that you can't see. So there's 2 co-ops in Pennsylvania who operate. They have member farms. I think the one has about 25 farms who are part of the co-op, and then the other one, I believe, is about 15 or so. Then we have like 5 other individual farms who we buy things from. They're all just about within 100 miles from here, maybe just outside or right within a 100-mile radius. The produce is not cheap. It is very expensive, pretty much all the time. I'll give an example. You know, we use spinach quite a bit here. From the farms, it can be as much as $10 a pound for baby spinach. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's as much as $12 a pound. When we first opened, it was $6 or $7 a pound at its maximum. It's really gone up a lot. With the seasons changing, you know, we have, my wife and I have some plots in a community garden. We grow a lot of things: peppers, tomatoes, herbs, lettuces, other greens, carrots, beets, dozens of different items. And some of those I bring here. I brought some cilantro today from, that actually had stayed from last winter. And, but then that's also part of what we do. You know, we have children, so we get involved in that so they have an understanding of where food comes from. It can be difficult to have access to produce. It can be difficult to even be together at all the same time to have a meal, you know, which we try to put, we've really gone out of our way to emphasize to our kids and mealtime has been is very important. We never have to pay anyone to take our fryer oil. You may or may not know, lots of fryer grease that's used and other food grease is collected by, I think there's 2 companies now that collect them, and they take them to a big factory, and they eventually take this old stuff and turn it into products such as makeup and different things. We also have a blue bin that we use for composting. We put all our fruit and vegetable scraps into this bin. We have a gentleman who picks up, and then usually on Sundays he'll take the bag. He has his own can. We pour the bag in there, and he takes it and use a compost in his garden. And then he also takes the used fryer grease and turns it into gasoline for one of his cars. I mean, it works out for both of us. We don't have to pay anyone to take it, and he basically gets some free fuel for his car. Tell you a little bit about the room here and the table you're sitting at. We refer to this as the table. It's a 17-foot long table. It's made from reclaimed barnwood. What's barnwood? There are old barns that people, either they buy a property and there's a barn on there that is maybe gone in disrepair or they don't have a use for, so it gets torn down. Well, that wood is perfectly usable for other purposes. And the company that we hired in Virginia, they specialize in using reclaimed wood to make furnitures and things.
I learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot of how their produce is brought, like from the farms, and how long it takes and how hard it is when it's not available, like the seasonality of foods like tomatoes and asparagus, and how it has an effect on their menu and what they need to do for the restaurant. This is actually my first time going to a restaurant like this, and it's actually really interesting, and the foods were really amazing. You get a taste of like real food.
They actually get their food from local farmers. They want people to continue the growth of local farming. The bison it melted in your mouth. It was to die for. And I mean, I've had bison before from different restaurants, and this was by far the best tasting bison I've ever had. And I think part of that is due to the fact that they actually get their bison locally grown.
The first thing we can go through the kitchen, and we saw everything, like how they work and the way how they store. It's like a practice things for me, because I took the class for the food safety and sanitation, and we never went to a kitchen and to saw the equipment and how the people in the kitchen work, actually in the real life. I really like the way how he talked about they support the local farms.
So when they recycle the vegetable oil, a guy actually comes in and takes the vegetable oil and then uses that as fuel for his car. I mean, that's great. That's great. It's pretty interesting how they keep it moving in a cycle.
It's really fun. And it's like special things to me, because I don't go out and eat a lot, so it's kind of special dinner for me.
Coming up next, after checking out the restaurant side of things, the students want to learn more about how local farms operate when they toured the Red Wiggler Farm in Germantown, Maryland. You'll see that next when Food for Thought returns.
Do you want to go to college but don't know how to apply to one, or are in desperate need of financial aid? The truth is, anyone who wants to get into college can, and the EOC is here to help. The EOC is funded by the U.S. Department of Education and provides free services to all Montgomery County residents. It doesn't matter what your story is, the EOC will help you now. The EOC helps with admissions, financial aid, academic counseling, career counseling, and preparation for the GED exam. The EOC also provides fee waivers for college applications, so you can apply to any college free of charge.
College is great. I am thankful for the EOC, and it has given me an opportunity that I thought I would never get.
EOC give me the opportunity to learn free. Make use of this resource. Make proper use of it. Come see what they can help you out with. You never know where you could be heading in life.
Call the EOC and make an appointment now. The EOC will help you get into college.
I came to Montgomery College and I took a production class there. And it was really fun, it was hands-on. My first real television experience was working for Montgomery College Television. It's been a blast because not only in terms of the people, but in terms of the actual hands-on experience I've gotten while working for them. So I'd say my one goal is to survive in this business and learn enough where I can teach someone else later.
Montgomery College, endless possibilities, 240-567-5000.
I loved like when you do something, it works. And when the computer works, the people that you fix it for, they smile. That was priceless for me. I hope to start my own computer firm. Networking, application development, software management, that sort of thing. That's the end goal, you know, where I run my own business, where I'm not answering to somebody else. You know, that's the end goal for me here.
Montgomery College, endless possibilities, 240-567-5000.
In a search to learn more about local farms, Montgomery College students took a trip to the Red Wiggler Farm located in a historic area of Germantown, Maryland. There they met operations manager Beth Van Leer and the farm's founder and executive director, Woody Woodruff. They brought the group up to speed on the mission of the farm and how it benefits the community in more ways than just providing nourishment.
We are a nonprofit organization in the context of a farm. We were founded in 1996 to provide meaningful jobs for adults with developmental disabilities on a farm. We are a Montgomery County Service Learning approved site, and so we have a lot of volunteers with and without disabilities who come and work on the farm. Our vision is creating fertile soil to nourish a healthy and inclusive community. As a CSA farm in Upper Montgomery County, what we are doing is growing food for our local community. And it is members of our local community that actually buy a share of the harvest and then come to the farm once a week and pick their share up. And it's the CSA that generates the activity on the farm. So we are out working the fields, growing food for our CSA members. So everything that we're doing here on the farm, we're doing with the intention of improving the soil, improving the air, improving the water. The soil will be in better condition, the forest will be in better condition. We will have protected the waters and the wetlands that surround our farm fields. The average number of miles of food traveled that people use in this country is 1,500 miles. So our food is traveling on average 1,500 miles, which means it's coming from California. It's coming from Texas, it's coming from Florida, it's coming from Central America, South America, China. Food is coming from all over the place and it's traveling great distances. As far as energy consumption, you can make a direct correlation between the energy that is needed to ship food long distances to people.
There's a whole movement that really has been growing since the 70s with the Back to the Land sort of hippie movement, or 60s. But it was really a sense back then that something's not right with our food system. So increasingly, farmers markets have grown. In the 80s, the CSA movement, the customers want better nutrition. They feel their food system's broken. They're reaching out to something that's going to be harvested that day or the day before because it's more nutritious, rather than something that comes from California or Chile or China, you know, where our food comes from, because our food system is globalized now. In order to pick something in Africa and get it to Europe, you can't pick it fully ripe. But if it was picked unripe, it means it hasn't developed its full nutritional value. And so we're less healthy, and as a culture, we are ballooning. We are less healthy. And so the relevance of a farm like this starts to increase. And people start saying, where can I buy local food? Because it's healthier, it was picked ripe, wasn't picked in Africa to be flown here.
If you think about it, there's probably really only a handful of food that can be picked early, that can withstand being packaged, that can withstand being shipped long distances where it's probably going to a warehouse, where it's probably sorted, and then it's shipped to your store where it's sitting in the back till it comes to the front and it's waiting for the consumer to come pick it up. So food could be a couple weeks old since it was picked by the time you get it. One of the things I would say about eating fresh and local is that here on the farm in our CSA, our food's being picked, 2 days or the day before or the day of pickup. Our CSA members come to the farm either on a Wednesday afternoon or a Saturday morning, and they pick up their share of the harvest. Every week, your share is going to be different. In the spring, you're going to get a lot of greens, you're going to get a lot of roots, you're going to get a lighter share. As we transition into the summer months, that's when the tomatoes and the peppers and the squash, the summer squash, and all of the kohlrabi, the heavier shares come in. And then you get a larger share. And then going into the fall, we've got the winter squash, we've got the collards, the kale, all sorts of greens. So you're literally eating seasonally with what can be grown in the cool seasons and in the hot season. And you come in and you pick up your share, and we've got a big board that says you get 8 tomatoes and you get 4 cucumbers and you get 3 peppers and you get a bag of lettuce, or whatever is in season. With the CSA, it is sold before it is grown. So our CSA customers have between January and June 1st to pay for their share of the harvest. And then they're coming through the summer months picking it up. And that way we are able to purchase our seeds and to pay, wages and to do what we need to do. And we have guaranteed sales. And so it's a very profitable way as well if your community is interested in a CSA. This is part of the mint family. It smells so wonderful. People put this in iced tea. People put this in lotions. Which one is this one? Lemon balm. There's also an orange balm. This is also like aromatherapy. So sometimes, in fact, in my own house, I've planted this. Did everybody get some? Lemon balm? I plant it like outside of my front door, so when I'm coming home and I'm walking into the door, I can just get a little of that lemon balm. This is a rain garden. I just want to touch on this real quick. A rain garden is really to capture the water, stormwater drainage here on the property and let the water drain into the ground here on the farm. This was designed using natives. So this whole rain garden is full of the blue flag, the rudbeckia, the cardinal flower. We've put milkweed all around the edges. There's some native blueberry, high bush blueberry, bayberry. There's lots of things in this garden. And I also let other natives come up. So the native asters or whatever want to come up, I let them come up. This garden is the most incredible garden I've ever seen. Last year was phenomenal. If you come to the farm tour in July, you will see this garden in its full glory. The pollinators that come and visit these native plants are just incredible. It's a real observation garden. And then by planting the milkweed all along the edge, what we had were monarchs. So monarchs came and they visited. The monarch would come and lay their eggs, and the caterpillars would eat from the various plants. Then they would climb up the rudbeckia and they would create their chrysalis. And then they were, so this was like a butterfly garden. It was literally growing butterflies. It's a little hard to get an idea of the farm's abilities and what the farm would look like in the summertime right now in the early spring. We are using sustainable farming methods. We are composting. We use a lot of cover crops. We till our cover crops back into the ground. That's green manure. We rotate crops. we grow a large diversity of crops. So we're probably growing in a regular year over 60 different vegetables, flowers, and herbs, and probably over 100 different varieties. So we're very rarely just growing one of anything. You know, when we're growing beets, we're growing 2 types of beets. When we're growing tomatoes, we're probably growing at least a dozen different varieties. 3 of those varieties are cherry. Lots of heirlooms. But the way that we farm here is in garden rows. And so this is the PYO, the Pick Your Own Garden for the CSA members that we're in right now. And we're farming in sort of 4-foot rows, and then we have rows, walking paths in between. So when we are creating the field, we're planting cover crops in the paths in between the garden. We never step in the garden, we never compact the soil. We're always working from either side. And then what we do is we just keep our walking paths mowed, so the cover crop stays mowed. These rows are with the contour of the land, so that in, you know, late August or early September, if the hurricane season comes in and we get a huge dump of rain, we have very minimal, if any, crop damage, because the cover crop in between the rows really helps hold the topsoil in place. And what the cover crops do in between the rows, and in a lot of fallow fields we will be planting cover crops, what they do is they act as an insulation to the ground. They're actually keeping the ground cooler in the hot summer months, and they're keeping the ground warmer in the cold winter months. They're maintaining water, they're maintaining life. This is a biological farm. This is a living farm, and the life in the soil is imperative to the life in the garden rows. When you're farming organically for 3 years, you're laying cover crops out in your fields. Before we came here in 2005, for 3 years we came here and we planted various cover crops out in these fields. And then periodically we'd come back, we might till it under and reseed. What that does is that helps pull toxins out of the soil and into the plants, and then it helps add organic matter back into the soil. You need rotting and decomposing, and you know, then you get all this microbial activity happening. It makes for healthy soil. So here we really are creating fertile soil. There's a farm manager here, and her name is Adrienne, and she spends the winter really planning out these fields. And these fields are divided into like field A, field B, field C, field D. I mean, we go all the way up to N. She's planning what's going to go where.
As the students from Montgomery College listened and studied the crops, it all began to make sense. Eating local food from local farms provides so much more than just nourishment. It also helps reduce global fuel use, as well as supporting the local economy. Not to mention, customers get better food. And as farms operate in environmentally conscious ways, the soil, waterways, and surrounding landscapes are rejuvenated. As more people become aware of restaurants and farms that operate in ways like Food Matters and the Red Wiggler Farm, the demand for such products and services could go up. And who knows, maybe local residents would eat better, live healthier, and have a cleaner environment. It's a good idea that's already gaining momentum. To find out more about Food Matters and the Red Wiggler Farm, visit their websites and be sure to check out the information on each site about community-supported agriculture.